Hi, how are you? I'm Steve Sparky, Fifer from 105.7 FM, The Fan, and AM 1250 in Milwaukee, coast of the Wendy's Big Show, weekday afternoons from 2 to 6. The former Packer and Badger running back Gary Ellerson and one Ronnie McLaughlin. He is Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times.
Did we tell you that there's going to be drug tests administered after this show?
You never would have brought me in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Milwaukee Bucks basketball. And as we record this tonight, finally it has happened. 13 years. Do you hear me? 13 years it's been since the Milwaukee Bucks have played on TNT in a regular season game.
You know what's mind-boggling? Last night I said that to a colleague in the sports department, Alan Nunn, and I said to him, you know the last time the Bucks were on TNT? And he goes, what, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? 13 years. What does that tell you?
13 years in a regular season game, to clarify.
Yeah.
But again, what it tells you is that TNT, small markets, probably don't go together all that well.
Unless you have LeBron.
But again,
Cleveland's a small market.
Just go over, and I'm going to get real personal right now. Just go over, say, their hosts of their shows. Barkley, Shaq, those guys. Tell me the last time you've heard them on in a small market doing a radio interview.
I don't know.
No. They go on in Chicago, L.A., New York. If they're going to be on any of those shows,
have you ever
they go on the
have you ever requested to have them come on?
All the time.
And they blew you off.
But I put in for them for our show this week. And we were told none of them will be available, but if you want Brent Barry, we might be able to get you him because he's on the call that night.
Who's this Barkley and who else?
Barkley, Shaq, Ernie Johnson, all those guys. We don't get
Ernie Johnson will do your show, I guarantee.
Listen to me. It's not that I'm asking Ernie.
Yeah.
You go through their PR.
Yeah.
And you just constantly, being in Milwaukee, get shot down. Now,
that is fascinating. I never knew that.
To their defense, the Bucks haven't been on TNT in years. So us asking to get them on anyhow was like, yeah, whatever, you're not on our channel.
Right.
But now we actually get on, thinking, okay, maybe we'll get one of them. And I don't know if we're getting Brent Barry. As of right now, this morning, we still don't know if we're getting him. But anyway,
I was at a party with Brent Barry in Las Vegas last summer.
There is something to be said about that broadcast. It's kind of like Monday night or Sunday night football now for the NFL. It's kind of like what that broadcast is, okay? Now, you don't have to respect all of their opinions, and you could take whatever you want for entertainment purposes versus truth and all that other stuff. But you are the game tonight against the Cavaliers, and as you first reported yesterday, Jabari Parker traveling to Cleveland, expected to play for the Bucks tonight if he at all can play. He plans on playing. That is a big boost for this Bucks team after they got whooped by the Wizards.
Absolutely, and the more times that this starting five can play together, the better off they're going to be in the long run.
Sure.
They got to develop some cohesiveness, some chemistry, and right now the season, it's like guys are going in and out of the lineup. You don't know who's starting, who's coming off the bench, and all the great teams basically have a rotation, 8-9 guys. And right now, you just don't know who those rotation guys are, at least on a dependable basis. So,
well, what's going to be interesting to see is with Jabari coming off his mid-foot sprain, how much will he play tonight? Because you would think his minutes will be limited once again tonight. I'll say something else.
Yeah.
When they beat Cleveland earlier this week, over the weekend, the one thing that you noticed for almost the entire game was Giannis matched up against LeBron. LeBron would not press Giannis and drive to the hoop. I think he went against them once or twice total, and it was at the end, where he finally went to try to drive on Giannis. Every other time, he'd take the jumper or pass out. Now, will that change when they're home against Cleveland? Because they just came off a loss to Detroit now. So they lost back-to-back games, and Cleveland wants this.
I know where you're coming from with Giannis, and I think he's making inroads on his defense.
I'm not coming from anywhere. I'm just making a point.
LeBron
would not drive the ball against him until the end.
LeBron looked so disinterested that first quarter, even the first
Scored
half.
A point in the first quarter.
Yeah, he took 3 shots, and it was like, okay, you guys play till I decide to get warmed up here,
It was all Kevin Love.
It was, which is good for me because who has Kevin Love in his fantasy league.
This guy.
But anyways.
Probably a good hurt.
I'm really curious, though, now that the bright lights are on with TNT, we'll see what kind of player LeBron is in the first quarter. If he comes out and attacks the basket right off the bat, he's there for the rest of the game.
But Gary, it's not like he scored 15 points against the Bucks. He had 37.
I know. That tells you.
He had 37, and the Bucks still beat him. And Love had 20-something, and the Bucks still beat him. LeBron and Love both had typical or better than typical nights for each other, and they still beat him. Now, again, no Kyrie Irving. I get it before you start freaking out. Oh, they didn't have Kyrie. I understand.
I'm not freaking out.
No, I'm saying the fans are saying, well, they beat Cleveland without Kyrie.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Maybe they did. And now they'll have an opportunity to do it again. But either way, these are big games. And I just hope that the team is taking this TNT game as seriously as maybe the fans are, because these guys all haven't been in the league all that long.
The ramifications are huge because they're on the national stage now. And for Bucks Nation to grow or gain more respect, they got to show up for these games. They can't beat Cleveland one night and then get blown off the map by the Wizards the next. Right. You know, they got to show some consistency.
And the other thing that I'm anxious to see is how short will Jason Kidd's rotation be tonight on TNT?
It's going to be short.
What did you think?
I will go to the bank.
Because he wants to win this game.
Oh, absolutely.
I know he does, and nobody else.
Yeah.
He wants to win this. So you'll have Bayless and Vasquez off the bench playing. Henson will play. And Johnny O'Brien. That'll be the rotation. You have 9 guys.
I get a kick out of Kidd because he goes, everybody's going to play on our team this year, like he said last year.
That's how it was to be.
Yeah, okay. But he decides how long they're going to play all the time when he wants it to be.
Well, he's the coach. That's what he should do.
He is the coach. But if he wants to be consistent, you don't take that kind of approach all the time.
But this is the deal, though. You have to understand. Well, at least I understand to a certain degree. Not that I like it, but I understand it.
Yeah.
He's okay with everybody playing, but he also doesn't want the losses to get out in front of the wins. So play around 500 ball for the first month or so, fine. And then start to make your push as you get in the middle of December, early January, start shortening your rotation down. This is different than last year. Last year, there were no expectations. This year, there are expectations, and expectations of getting home court. Jabari Parker said in training camp, top 3 seed. So when you start having expectations like that, you're not going to play some guys that aren't performing. And Chris Copeland, he was brought over here to stretch the floor and hit threes. Hadn't really played him at all. Mm-hmm. You drafted Rashad Vaughn. He really hasn't played at all either, except in junk time. Plumlee's gotten minutes here or there when Henson's been hurt, but he really hasn't gotten a bunch of run either. Mm-hmm. I mean, he really, in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, has shortened his rotation already.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Getting back to Parker. Last year we saw Jabari Parker at least, for 25 games. And we saw a guy that would cut to the basket, pull up, shoot jumpers, or sit on the perimeter. We're seeing a different Jabari Parker.
He's attacking more.
He is. I mean, he's becoming like a human highlight film. Yep. I mean, he's had like 3 dunks already this season that you go, where did this come from? Yep. You didn't see that in his game last year. I mean, that one move where he made along the baseline, goes up to the basket, guy's going to block his shot. All of a sudden he does a 360 and throws it down, and I go, my goodness. And people say he's not athletic.
No, he's athletic. I just think he's more Glenn Big Dog Robinson athletic. I mean, I think that's kind of where he is.
I don't think I've ever seen Glenn throw down those dunks. I really don't.
I think defensively he's going to struggle like Glenn did because he's limited how quick he can be, left to right, right to left, moving his feet.
I'm going to give you a tease here.
Giannis, he could be a first-team defender if he wants to be.
I'm going to give you a tease here. You remember how Big Dog played for the Bucks, and now we got Jabari Parker. There's some comparison. Next week, we're going to find out there's even more comparisons, too.
Between those two?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
It's pretty interesting.
Glenn played the 3, and they're making Jabari play the 4. So that's a big difference, too. Mm-hmm. And how Jabari's going to have to play
It's a different game, though. I mean, now the emphasis is on having a stretch 4. In the past, you had a power 4. Mm-hmm. And, all of a sudden the Golden State Warriors win, the NBA title, and everybody wants to be the Golden State Warriors.
The one thing I want to see...
And I think they're right. I think that's the way the game's going.
Yeah, one thing I want to see more, but I want to see Henson and Monroe on the floor together more. That's what I want to see. I want to see those two work together more in combo because they are very good defensively when they're both on the floor.
I totally agree with you, but then something has to give. So then what do? Giannis comes out, Parker comes out.
Well, whoever. Giannis or Parker can stay out, but you don't need both of them out there with those two.
That's what I'm saying. Minutes are going to be sacrificed by doing that.
Fine. But that's better than playing 5 bench players at once.
And that's where I think going forward, I mean, if you project this team down the road, you're going to say, do the Bucks have a rim protector? And I think that's somewhat overrated, but on a regular basis, because right now teams are just killing the Bucks by going to the basket. Because I love Monroe, but he can't get off the floor. I mean, he's kind of
he's never going to be a shot
exactly.
blocker, per se.
I mean, last year he didn't even average one.
But he was at the power forward position, and I told you. He's going to average at least a block and a half a game this year.
Yeah, but nobody's scared of him. When they go to the basket, they know he can't elevate to contest them. Giannis has not shown that inclination to be a shot blocker yet.
He has, though.
At times, he has, where he tracks down guys. Right. But I'm saying when you're in a half-court set and the guy goes to the basket, somebody's got to, and Parker's not going to be that guy for sure.
Well, so then on the defensive end of the floor, then they're playing out of position. Because then Giannis should be at the 4, Jabari's at the 3.
See, I mean,
in which case, Jabari should have been playing the 3 from the gate, which is what I said, and that's how it should have been. But instead, they're convinced Jabari's going to be the 4. I'm not. I still think 3-4 years from now, Jabari's going to be the 3 and Giannis is going to be the 4. We'll see if I'm wrong. But I think that's how it's going to go.
But again, you're looking at the stretch forward. Is Giannis going to be the perimeter shooter that Parker is? And I don't think he is. I think Parker is going to be a much better.
Why can't you just have a guy at the small forward that can shoot the outside shot? Why does Giannis have to shoot the outside shot as a 4? He doesn't have to shoot the outside shot as a 4.
You want to spread the
Monroe can hit a mid-range jumper, but if Giannis is going to go inside, he's got to improve his post play.
Right.
That's
we can break that down. So, do you like one quick question for you? Do you like where the Bucks are at this stage of the game?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I just don't want them healthy. They've played one game. It's a starting 5. So let's see how they do 20, 30 games in. MCW had the worst half of basketball I've ever seen them have in the first half against the Wizards, and then comes out in the second and hits a couple threes. I'm like, who is this?
Yeah, right.
Who is this guy?
Exactly.
So he has to become more consistent too. And Grievous Vasquez and Jerry Bayless are playing out of their mind the last 3 or 4 games. Mm-hmm. So thank God for those two at this point.
Yeah, I think by the end of the year, early January, we'll have a pretty good idea what this team is all about.
OJ Mayo? Just wondering. He's Gery Woelfel. I'm Steve Sparky.
His hamstring muscles, are problematic.
I don't know. We'll talk to you next time here at RaySeedSportsZone.com.
Did you detect my cynicism?